Welcome to this edition of Ethical Sustainable Investment News and Analysis to Profit By. I'm Ron Robbins, an ethical investing pioneer for over 40 years, quoted in the Wall Street Journal, MarketWatch, the Globe and Mail, and numerous other media, and founder of the highly respected global ethical sustainable investing information website, Investing for the Soul. And please listen to my disclaimer statement at the end of this podcast. Now enjoy this podcast. Hello, Ron Robbins here. Welcome to this podcast, episode 140, published October 18th, 2024, titled Top Sustainable Companies and Funds for 2024. It's presented by Investing for the Soul. Investingforthesoul.com is your site for vital global, ethical and sustainable investing mentoring, news, commentary, information and resources. Remember that you can find a full transcript and links to content, including stock symbols and bonus material, on this episode's podcast page at investingforthesoul.com/podcasts. Also, a reminder, I do not evaluate any of the stocks or funds mentioned in these podcasts, and I don't receive any compensation from anyone covered in these podcasts. Furthermore, I will reveal to you any investments I have in the investments mentioned herein. Additionally, quotes about individual companies are brief. Please go to this podcast webpage for links to the articles and more company and stock information. Now, I'm leading this podcast with this article titled 10 Climate and ESG Investment Funds to Know About. It's by Trinity Spark and can be seen on onegreenplanet.org. Here's some of what Ms. Spark says about her picks. 1. The Brown Advisory Sustainable Growth Fund. The Brown Advisory Sustainable Growth Fund, part of the Brown Advisory Funds family, boasts total assets of $9.9 billion as of June 30th, 2024. This large growth fund has consistently aimed to deliver significant returns while aligning with sustainable investment principles. Over the past year, it has achieved an impressive return of 17.11%. 2. Nuveen Winslow Large Cap Growth ESG ETF. With a focus on long-term capital appreciation, the Nuveen Winslow Large Cap Growth ESG ETF seeks out high-quality companies that demonstrate above-average earnings growth potential. The fund takes an integrated approach to ESG investing, incorporating environmental, social, and governance considerations, as well as assessing controversy inputs to mitigate risks. 3. Praxis Growth Index Fund. The Praxis Growth Index Fund is designed to pursue capital appreciation through a thoughtfully curated portfolio of stocks that mirror the performance of the U.S. large-cap growth equity market. It operates under a stewardship investing framework, incorporating responsible investment criteria into its selection process. The Praxis Growth Index Fund is ideal for investors looking to balance growth potential with ethical investing. 4. Vanguard ESG US Stock ETF. The Vanguard ESG US Stock ETF stands out with its low expense ratio of just 0.09% and an appealing dividend yield of 1.08%. Since its inception in September 2018, the fund has delivered an average annual return of 13.31%. With nearly 1,500 holdings, the ETF offers a highly diversified portfolio predominantly composed of U.S. stocks. The Vanguard ESG U.S. Stock ETF is an excellent choice for investors seeking growth alongside sustainability. 5. PIMCO Enhanced Short Maturity Active ESG ETF. The PIMCO Enhanced Short Maturity Active ESG ETF is designed to preserve capital while maximizing income for its investors. With an expense ratio of 0.24% and an appealing dividend yield of 5.05%, this actively managed ETF emphasizes high-quality, short-term dollar-denominated debt. This fund focuses on securities from issuers whose ESG practices align with PIMCO's investment strategy, making it a strong option for socially conscious investors. 6. iShares MSCI Global Sustainable Development Goals ETF. The iShares MSCI Global Sustainable Development Goals ETF is dedicated to investing in companies that contribute positively to addressing significant social and environmental challenges, as identified by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. With an expense ratio of 0.49% and a dividend yield of 1.82%, this fund has delivered an impressive average annual return of 8.16% since its inception in April 2016. 7. Fidelity U.S. Sustainability Index Fund. The Fidelity U.S. Sustainability Index Fund offers a cost-effective option for ESG investors featuring an impressively low expense ratio of 0.11% and a dividend yield of 0.99%. This passive index fund is designed to track the MSCI USA ESG Index, providing broad exposure to a diverse array of U.S. companies across various industries and market capitalizations. As of the latest data, this fund has delivered a robust annual average return of 15.65% over the past 5 years. The Fidelity U.S. Sustainability Index Fund has outperformed its large cap blend category average over the past 2, 3, and 5 years. 8. Calvert U.S. Mid-Cap Core Responsible Index Fund. Established nearly 50 years ago, the Calvert U.S. Mid-Cap Core Responsible Index Fund is a strong contender for investors seeking significant exposure to mid-cap stocks. With an expense ratio of 0.49% and a dividend yield of 0.81%, this fund emphasizes responsible investing in businesses committed to positive social and environmental practices. Over the past 5 years, the fund has achieved an average annual return of 9.48%. 9. BlackRock Sustainable Advantage Core Alpha Bond Fund. The BlackRock Sustainable Advantage Core Alpha Bond Fund offers an actively managed approach to fixed income investing, emphasizing bonds that not only provide income but also have the potential for positive societal impact. With an expense ratio of 0.54% and a dividend yield of 3.78%, this fund aims to balance capital appreciation with income generation. However, it has faced challenges in the current interest rate environment, with an average annual return of minus 0.47% over the past 5 years. 10. American Century Sustainable Growth ETF. The American Century Sustainable Growth ETF is designed to provide a total return that surpasses its benchmark over market cycles by employing a growth-oriented U.S. equity strategy that integrates environmental, social, and governance ESG factors. As of September 27, 2024, the fund boasts a year-to-date total return of 34.45%, reflecting its strong performance in a competitive market. End quotes. The second article I'm covering might appeal to European investors in particular. It's titled The 10 Largest Funds Aligned to Sustainable Development Goals by Liz Angeles and found on Morningstar.com. Note the ESG risk rating assessments below. 5 globes are the best and 1 globe is the worst. 1. Northern Trust UCITS Common Contractual Fund, NT World SDG Screen Low Carbon Index Fund, EUR ACC. Morningstar rating 5 stars. ESG risk rating assessment 4 globes. The investment objective of the fund is to closely match the risk and return characteristics of the MSCI World Select ESG Leaders Low Carbon Impact G Series Index with net dividends reinvested. 2. DWS Invest SDG Global Equities XC. Morningstar rating 4 stars. ESG rating assessment 4 globes. While it does not have as its objective a sustainable investment, it will invest a minimum in proportion of its assets in sustainable investments as defined by the EU Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation. The sub-fund is actively managed and is not managed in reference to a benchmark according to fund literature. 3. NT Europe SDG Screen Low Carbon IDX Fund AEUR Inc. Morningstar rating 4 stars. ESG risk rating assessment 4 globes. The investment objective of the fund is to closely match the risk and return characteristics of the MSCI Europe Select ESG Leaders Low Carbon Impact G Series Index, with net dividends reinvested, according to fund literature. Over the past 2 years, it beat the category index by an annualized 2.1 percentage points and outperformed the category average by 4.6 percentage points. And more importantly, when looking across a longer horizon, the strategy outpaced the index according to Morningstar Manager Research. 4. Robeco Global SDG Engagement Equities 1 EUR Capitalization. Morningstar rating 2 stars. ESG risk rating assessment 3 globes. The sub-fund aims to provide long-term capital growth while at the same time promoting certain ESG characteristics and integrating sustainability risks in the investment process. A primary objective is to drive a clear and measurable improvement in the company's contribution to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals over 3 to 5 years. 5. Federated Hermes SDG Engagement Equity Fund Class X USD Accumulating. Morningstar rating 3 stars. ESG risk rating assessment 3 globes. The investment objective of the fund is to provide long-term capital appreciation alongside positive societal impact. The fund will seek to achieve its investment objective over a rolling period of any 5 years by investing at least 80% in equity and or equity-related securities of or relating to small and mid-capitalization companies domiciled in or that derive their income from developed and emerging markets according to fund literature. 6. Northern Trust UCITS FGR Fund, Emerging Markets SDG Screened Low Carbon Index FGR Fund, a EUR DIS. Morningstar rating not available. ESG risk rating assessment 4 globes. The investment objective of the fund is to closely match the risk and return characteristics of the MSCI Emerging Markets Select ESG Leaders Low Carbon Impact G-Series Index with net dividends reinvested. The fund aims to avoid or minimize holdings in companies breaching international norms, including the UN Global Compact or the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, according to Morningstar Manager Research. 7. Northern Trust UCITS FGR Fund, North America SDG Screened Low Carbon Index FGR Fund, a EUR. Morningstar rating not available. ESG risk rating assessment 5 globes. The investment objective of the fund is to closely match the risk and return characteristics of the MSCI North America Select ESG Leaders Low Carbon Impact G-Series with net dividends reinvested. 8. CT Lux SDG Engagement Global Equity XR EURACC. Morningstar rating 4 stars. ESG risk rating assessment 5 globes. The portfolio aims to achieve long-term capital growth and support sustainable development according to fund literature. The fund aims to avoid or limit exposure to companies in violation with international norms such as the UN Global Compact or the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. No companies held by this fund are recognized as being involved in controversies at a high or severe level, according to Morningstar Manager Research. 9. NEF Ethical Global Trends SDG 1 CAP. Morningstar rating 3 stars. ESG risk rating assessment 2 globes. The sub-fund seeks an attractive long-term rate of return measured in euros through investment primarily in equity securities of companies domiciled in developed countries, but investment may be made in equity securities of companies domiciled in emerging countries. The sub-fund seeks to invest mainly in stocks issued by companies with high-quality ESG profiles and that contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals as defined by the United Nations according to fund literature. And 10. Northern Trust UCITS FGR Fund, Europe SDG Screened Low Carbon Index FGR Fund, a EUR. Morningstar rating 4 stars. ESG risk rating assessment 4 globes. The investment objective of the fund is to invest at least 85% of its assets in the master fund, the investment objective of which is to closely match the risk and return characteristics of the MSCI Europe Select ESG Leaders Low Carbon Impact G-Series Index with net dividends reinvested. The fund aims to avoid or limit exposure to companies in violation with international norms such as the UN Global Compact or the Universal Declaration of Human Rights." End quotes. This third article is about one of my favorite companies' rankings. It's titled IBD's 100 Most Sustainable Companies for 2024. It's by Annie Stanley and found on investors.com. Here are some quotes from Miss Stanley. More than 3/4, 77% of individual investors around the world say they want to invest in companies or funds that aim to achieve market rate financial returns while also considering positive social and/or environmental impact, according to a recent report from Morgan Stanley. To build IBD's 2024 list of the 100 most sustainable companies, we started with Morningstar's US and global low-carbon transition leaders indexes. The indexes target the best-scoring 50% of companies from each sector by market capitalization. We selected the companies with the highest IBD composite rating, all with scores of 80 or better, putting them in the top 20%. Finally, we ranked the companies by the climate management score, using the IBD composite rating to break any ties. Topping the list this year is Moody's, demonstrating that a company that provides data on ESG factors can itself be a model of sustainability best practices. US gas and electric utility Southern Co. is next on the list, and consumer giant Colgate-Palmolive is third. Two more utility companies, Alliant Energy and NRG Energy, finished 4th and 5th respectively on this year's IBD 100 Most Sustainable Companies list. End quotes. Couple of additional articles I didn't get to. One, title, Sustainable Investing Replaces ESG. See the top green stocks by industry category on investors.com by Annie Stanley. 2, title, The Top 10 Best Performing ESG Funds of the Decade on financialplanning.com by Rob Burgess. These are my top news stories with their stock and fund tips for this podcast, Top Sustainable Companies and Funds for 2024. Please click the like and subscribe buttons wherever you download or listen to this podcast. That helps bring these podcasts to others like you. And please click the share buttons to share this podcast with your friends and family. Let's promote ethical and sustainable investing as a force for hope and prosperity in these troubled times. Contact me if you have any questions. Thank you for listening. Now, my next podcast will be November 1st. I'll talk to you then. Bye for now. Learn how to create a simple portfolio reflecting your personal values by taking my 1-hour tutorial. Go to investingforthesoul.com/podcasts and click the link in the right-hand column for my DIY Ethical Sustainable Investing Pays tutorial. Now, I'll mention in the podcast if I have any direct interest or holdings in companies or securities I'm talking about. Furthermore, any news, opinions, analysis, or other information offered by myself, as well as references and information to or from other external sources in this podcast, is provided as general market information and should not be relied upon and thus does not constitute investment advice. Investors should consult their own licensed investment professional before making investments. Also, I will not accept liability for any loss or damage, including without limitation any loss of profit, which may arise directly or indirectly from use of or reliance on information in this podcast. Do contact me at ronr@investingforthesoul.com. Signing off, this is Ron Robbins.